Moe? Where are you, Moe?
Yes, coming, ma'am.
Where have you been?
I'm sorry, but I was told to water the flowers earlier, so...
How freaking long are you taking to do that, huh? It should be over in no time. You're not slacking off, are you?
I would never do that, ma'am.
Enough of this. Hurry up and go make lunch.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Moe Tanaka, and I recently married my husband Junichi and started living in my in-laws' family home. Junichi's parents run a small factory, and their son works there as the next factory manager. And although it's small, they have a lot of contracts and live a fairly comfortable life. But I must admit that my mother-in-law's presence is too much to bear at times. Before we got married, she wasn't that involved in my relationship with Junichi. But since I started living with her and her family, she's been bullying me on a rather grand scale. This was really unexpected of her.
Honey, why don't you let her take a break for a bit? Mo's been working non-stop for a long time now.
I don't think so, honey. She came into our family as the bride, and this is what she ought to do. Otherwise, we'd be doing her too many favors.
But even so...
Need I remind you that I tried a lot harder than she did when I married you? Don't spoil Moe, alright?
I'm not spoiling her.
I think you should focus on trying to make the factory bigger. Just because it's not in the red doesn't mean you can think it's okay to leave it like that. Wouldn't you agree?
I'll be fine, Mr. Tanaka.
I'm fine, I get it. But I must tell you, stop being so harsh on Mo. The neighbors see you bullying your son's wife as you do. They might say something unnecessary about us, see?
What are you doing, taking Moe's side all the time? And as for you, Moe, don't get too cocky just because he's paying attention to you and your well-being.
Yes, ma'am. I'll prepare dinner. It was like this every day. I even tried to talk to Junichi about it, but...
Just listen to what Mom tells you, Mo. She's always right after all, and since we live together, it's only natural to respect Mom.
Those were his only responses, and he didn't protect me at all. I realized this after we got married, but Junichi is a mama's boy. In a nutshell, he prioritizes his mother over everything and everyone else. I think it's good to take care of your family, but I don't particularly mind that he loves his mother. But it's too much, if you know what I mean. I began to feel like he's always saying mom this and mom that, and I'm starting to wonder why he ever married me at all. And to be honest, I'm starting to question why I'm still with Junichi.
Moe, hurry up and clean this place.
Yes, ma'am. I'm on my way. If it was going to be like this, I should have just kept working and saved up some money before I moved out. I lost my parents early in life, and I don't have any other relatives. Junichi was so kind to me that I fell in love with him. I wanted to feel the warmth of family again, and had a strong desire to get married. Maybe that was what was wrong with me. I should have looked closer at my partner. Things wouldn't have turned out like this. I'd heard that some people change for the worst after marriage, but I never thought that my partner would fall into that category. I don't know if I can bear the thought of living in this house for decades to come. During troubling times like these, my father-in-law, who was the only one in the house who always treated me so kindly, called to me and said,
Mo, dear?
Oh, hello, Mr. Tanaka. What can I do for you?
I'm sorry for my family always doing such terrible things to you.
Oh, please, sir. It's not something you ought to apologize for. I'm only glad that you treat me so well.
That's all I can do, unfortunately, my dear. I'm still working hard in my job, and I'm sure my wife says all sorts of things to you during the day.
That's true. But you always have an ear to listen to me, and I'm so happy that you do, sir. Thank you so much.
I'll try to talk some sense into those two scoundrels. So just a little longer, dear. A little more patience.
I understand. Thank you, sir, so much. Mr. Tanaka was the only one who was always on my side, and it made me feel like it was actually okay for me to stay here. It made me feel so warm inside and happy. And it was the day after that happened.
Hey, Moe, enough trying to frickin' please my husband, huh? You're disgusting.
I didn't do anything like that, ma'am. Mr. Tanaka was just worried about me.
I don't want to hear that excuse.
Seems like she was eavesdropping on our conversation from yesterday, and that was the catalyst for Mrs. Tanaka to treat me even more harshly than ever before. Hey, Junichi, it's about your mother.
What is it this time? I bet you just did something that my mother didn't like, right?
I would never.
My mother is a physically weak woman, see? And she wants to leave the housework to you.
A woman speaking so bluntly and having a hobby of harassing me? That same woman is physically weak, you say?
Whatever. Please don't talk smack about my mother. Why do you think I married you and let you live in this house with me?
What are you saying?
I married you despite the fact that you can't work and have no relatives to take care of you. So obviously, I expect you to do what you're told. What other reason could there be?
That's terrible.
You're a servant to our family, and you better not rebel for your sake. You don't have anywhere to go back to anyway.
And those words finally made me snap. I'll definitely give these bastards a lesson. I'll make them feel true misery, for I won't get divorced and leave the house without avenging myself. I was prepared to take action. But still, what should I do, for real, even if I try to find out their weaknesses? I was so at a loss about what to do, and the only thing I could think of was to do all the housework and earn their favor. I read my mother-in-law's request to do the housework before she ever complained about anything, but she didn't seem to approve at all. Instead, her repertoire of nasty comments became limited to saying that the food was bad and asking me harshly about when the children would come. Every time she asked me that, I would always say that Junichi always seemed to be tired and that I wanted to let me take cooking classes. And my father-in-law would step in. All in all, life wasn't as hard for a while. But then one day, Mr. Tanaka suddenly collapsed at work. It seems he was suffering from terminal cancer.
I never realized that you had cancer, honey.
I wanted to spend more time with you.
Don't put on faces like that, guys. It's not like I'm going to die tomorrow.
Well, I guess.
Junichi, I'm leaving the factory to you. I know you can do what's right to be successful.
Yeah, Dad. I'll make the factory bigger for your sake. I'm going to do my best.
And honey, please, support Junichi and Mo with all your heart.
I know, honey. I know.
Mr. Tanaka had to stay in the hospital, but from that day onward, the bullying got a lot worse once again. I guess it's because there was no one to stop her when her husband wasn't at home watching. Mr. Tanaka, how are you feeling?
I'm fine now. Nothing's changed.
Is that so? If anything happens, please let me know right away, okay?
Thank you. Since then, only you've come to visit me, you know.
Well, Junichi and his mother are busy with the factory right now.
It's fine, dear. I understand. Those two aren't interested in me after all.
Oh, Mr. Tanaka, you do realize I love you, I hope. I'm so happy that you never fail to see my side of things and hope to make things better.
That's only natural, my dear. And also, I'm the one who should be grateful.
I didn't really.
No, I had a wife and son with such personalities as that, you see. And he couldn't get married for a long time, too. He was lucky enough to marry such a lovely girl, but he says and does such terrible things.
I'm also at fault for not being able to see Junichi's true nature before we got married, sir.
It would be better if you just got divorced and left the home, wouldn't it?
But I don't have anywhere to go, and right now I have no savings.
And if I'm gone, your life might get even worse.
If you're gone, please, sir, enough with that talk.
But you know full well, don't you, dear? I'm in the final stages of my illness, and I don't even have another 6 months to live.
Please, sir.
I think it's better to do whatever you can before then.
What do you mean? A little while later, Mr. Tanaka's health started to deteriorate, and he passed away months later. Even when I was with him through to the end, the two of them didn't come to the hospital.
Honey, why did you have to leave so soon?
I'll make that factory bigger for you, Dad. Just you wait. I'll make you proud.
You two pricks never even came to visit him in the hospital. And now at the funeral, you put on an exaggerated face of sadness? I know it was understandable that Junichi was busy with work, but what was his mother doing, I wonder? I felt such anger welling up inside me, and more than anyone else, I was saddened by Mr. Tanaka's passing and prayed for his soul to rest in peace. But then my mother-in-law told me,
You're not a part of the family anymore. Get your ass back off the room and sit there quietly.
It broke my heart. And she made me do all the preparations for the wake and funeral. And she said it in front of the relatives. So I was getting cold looks from them. I don't know if they didn't care or didn't notice, but the two of them just acted calmly. But I didn't care about that anymore. I was so fed up that as soon as the funeral was over, I packed up a few things and left the house, leaving behind divorce forms on the living room table. Then I caught a call from Junichi.
Where are you? Come back right now.
No, I have no intention of going back. I'm going to divorce you.
You think you could actually do something like that?
I don't care if you don't forgive me.
I married you and did you a favor, and this is how you repay me? With revenge?
I don't feel any gratitude towards you, sir.
Excuse me?
I'm overworked every day, and I don't have any free time. I've never once thought it was a good thing that I got married.
Who do you think has been supporting you up until now, eh?
It's true that I become a full-time housewife and I don't have any money. But it was you who wanted that, Junichi, lest we forget. I always said I wanted to work, didn't I?
You were marrying into my family, and being a full-time housewife was the obvious path for you.
And I genuinely hated being forced to bend to that ideology. I've been putting up with it for a long time, but I've reached my limit. Your father is in a better place, and there's no point in me being there anymore.
What does that have to do with this?
I could only be so patient because your father was there for me, sir. Even when your mother did terrible things to me, you never once even tried to protect me. You instead disappointed me further by saying that's what your mother said was absolute.
That's obvious, isn't it? Wasn't my mother always right?
I don't like that side of you being such a sugar-coated mama's boy. Can't you make fair judgments just like your father did?
I'm not a mama's boy. I just think that my mother is important and that she's right in what she says every time.
Yeah? Do you truly think so? Your father was the right one in the house all along.
That's not true. More to the point, you've been talking about my father a lot right now. Don't tell me you were doing something with him behind my back, eh?
How dare you accuse me of the impossible? Unlike you, I don't cheat on my partner.
What? Me cheating? What are you...
What? Did you think I didn't know? You're cheating on me with Miss Hiragi, who works at the factory, aren't you?
How did you come to that conclusion when you're staying at home all the time?
I've known for a long time that you had no love for me, but it was your father who told me.
Dad did what?
Well, dear, what I'm about to say will probably be depressing for you, but will you listen?
Yes, sir?
I think Junichi is probably cheating on you.
Ah, yes, I think you're right, sir. I was thinking so too.
Aren't you sad about this, dear?
I'm sorry, but I know I don't have any love for Junichi anymore.
I suppose so. Well, I guess it can't be helped. He behaves like that every day. Even his parents would lose his love for him.
But there is no evidence of his infidelity, so I only have speculation to rely on.
There is a part-time housewife called Hiragi working at the factory, and he talks to her a lot these days. And he is in contact with someone else in between work, like on his lunch break.
He is always out on his days off too, so I guess he's meeting with Miss Hiragi or with another woman.
Perhaps. I'm sorry I don't have any solid evidence.
Oh, no, sir. If there is even that much, I think it'll be easy to find more conclusive evidence.
Is that so?
But are you okay with this? You're not taking Junichi's side, it seems.
It's fine, dear. Just because he's my real son doesn't mean I can cover up for bad behavior on his part.
If Junichi had only taken after his father, maybe this wouldn't have happened.
I'm sorry I raised it wrong. I'm so sorry. And as soon as I'm gone, you should leave home.
I was planning to, but I don't know where to go.
I took the liberty of telling my sister about you, dear. You get yourself over to her house as soon as the funeral is over, understood?
I understand, sir. Thank you so much for everything.
My sister was really worried about you, dear. So I'm sure she'll take good care of you when you arrive at her doorstep.
And that's what happened. And I found evidence of your affair right away. I guess you thought I wouldn't look at it, but you didn't have your phone locked, and I took the liberty of reading all your text messages. I have the screenshots too. I even took a snapshot of you two on one of your weekend dates.
Don't be ridiculous! That's actual voyeurism and an invasion of privacy! What nerve do you have to look at someone's phone without permission?
Why don't you tell your mother that instead of me, huh?
What?
Your mother always looked at my phone almost every day without my permission, and she also checked yours when you left your phone at home once.
Why?
Who knows? Well, your mother seems to have a hobby of monitoring, and she wants to know everything about our kids, doesn't she?
What the hell?
Good for you, Mr. Tanaka. Your beloved mother is always watching over you, and everything she does is right, right?
Why did you do that? What was your intention in watching over me?
Why, you ask? Of course, it was because I was worried about you, Junichi.
It's disgusting. I'm not a child anymore. Don't do anything so weird like that.
Don't say such terrible things, darling. And it's also because you come home late, you know.
Are you blaming me for what you did?
It's natural for parents to always be worried about their kids, honey. And if there was someone better than Moe, then I would help you divorce her and let you remarry.
That's no excuse to go snooping around my phone behind my back.
Huh. If you're going to fight, do it later. Instead of that, agree to the divorce quickly, if you please.
There's no way I'd approve of a divorce. Think about what society would think.
If you're worried about what society thinks, then what about your affair, huh? Won't that damage your reputation?
As long as it's not found out, I'll be fine.
First of all, you've been caught, haven't you? If so, should I just go about and tell the neighbors? It seems like there's no point in talking to you anymore. And if you refuse, let's discuss it through a lawyer.
That's fine. You don't even have the money to hire a lawyer anyway.
See ya. I forced myself to hang up the phone. I didn't want to hear Junichi's voice at all anymore. He's calling again.
Hey, the hell is wrong with you?
What are you talking about this time?
The inheritance.
Ah, the inheritance. And what about that, sir?
Don't play coy with me, you bitch. Why is it that you get to inherit almost all my father's inheritance? This is ridiculous.
That's right. If you did something to make this happen, I swear.
I didn't do anything.
Liar! You're not related to the man by blood, and you have no right to receive it. You forced him to write his will in your favor, didn't you?
Indeed. Mr. Tanaka wrote a will, but I never asked him to give me any of his inheritance.
Liar!
It's true. When he was writing the will, a lawyer was with us in the room. If I had done anything suspicious, he would have stopped it.
You may have bribed him, though.
You know I don't have any money, right? And have you read the will properly? Mr. Tanaka was watching over you two very closely. Before he passed away, my father-in-law asked a lawyer to leave a will stating that 80% of his inheritance would be left to me. I can't accept this, sir.
Think of it as an apology for all the things that were done to you in alimony, too.
If that's the case, I'll receive it when I get divorced.
You should be okay with the alimony for the divorce. But I doubt you'll get anything for what my wife did to you. Think of it as compensation for that.
Mr. Tanaka.
And also, I've been working hard for my family up until now. But they only came to visit me on the first day of my hospitalization. I don't have any intention to give my inheritance to people like that anymore. I don't want them to use my estate to pay for the divorce and everything else.
I understand. Thank you so much. I'll use it wisely.
I can't believe it! Calls himself a parent still.
That's right, leaving nothing to us after he's gone.
All of this is simply a reflection of how you treated him when he was still alive and fighting people. If you have any complaints to say, why don't you tell them to your past selves?
You cocky little witch! You just sucked up to Dad, didn't you, you disgusting maggot?
I was visiting him to repay him for all the help and kindness he gave me. I don't need you folks, who would only think about how much of an inheritance you'd get and how you would spend it on gallivanting to tell me anything. Obviously you would do that. I know you didn't work every day and just played around, see?
What the hell? I don't know about that.
And you didn't even visit him, Mom. You went all kinds of places instead. I know all about those pieces of fashion you kept hidden in your room.
Well, I'm a full-time housewife, and I don't have to work, so...
If you're the wife of a man, isn't it normal to visit your husband when he's still in the hospital, though? That's why you didn't get an inheritance.
Right back at you, son.
Well then, folks, if you'll excuse me. After that, Junichi apologized and begged me to get back together with him many times. But I knew he was after the inheritance, so I never allowed him any chance. In the end, Junichi was cheating on his wife, not only with the woman who worked at the factory, Miss Hiragi, but also with women he met at cabaret clubs and on dating apps. None of them, with the exception of Hiragi, knew that he was already married to another woman, so I demanded alimony from Hiragi. It also seems that Hiragi's husband is adamant on divorcing her. Also, because Junichi had gotten into debt because they had been out partying together with girls, he's been working harder than ever at the factory. But now that his father is gone, a lot of companies stopped doing business with him.
No way! Why would you cancel our partnership?
I'm sorry, sir. Other factories offer better quality products at cheaper prices.
Well, we had a long-standing contract with you people.
Well, truth be told, if your father, Hiroyuki, was still here with us, rest his soul, we would have continued on with the partnership.
What?
But to be honest, with your policies, we don't want to have a contract with you anymore. The previous factory manager delivered products of excellent quality, which convinced us to keep on doing business with him. But the products sent from the factory now are of pretty poor quality. It would be a problem for us to receive products in that condition, you understand?
Junichi was an efficiency-oriented man who ignored quality, and that led to contracts being terminated one after another. And before he knew it, the factory went bankrupt. The family debts also increased, and they sold the house in an attempt to pay off the debts. Now he and his mother live in a rundown apartment, and he works at another factory. His mother also started working part-time to pay off the debt, but because she was working so hard despite her old age, she ended up in the hospital due to her deteriorating health. That's why she asked her relatives for help, but
We're in such a difficult situation right now, so please, even if it's just a little, lend me some money.
I don't want anything to do with you guys.
Why?
How dare you say why? It would help me if I treated family like that at the funeral.
Why would you care how we treat her? She was my son's wife. We could treat her however we wanted.
And that's exactly why people don't pay attention to you. And we've all heard everything from Hiroyuki while he was still alive. So everyone wants to sever ties with you and your son.
No! Please!
all of my relatives came on my side once they had heard about how they treated me and my father-in-law, and the true reason for the divorce. Maybe this came as a shock to her, for it made Mrs. Tanaka's health worse, and she ended up staying in the hospital for a long time. And eventually, she needed care and had to go into a nursing home. Junichi seems to be struggling financially. Well, I don't really care anymore because my alimony has been paid in full. Meanwhile, I was taken care of by Mr. Tanaka's little sister for the first 2 weeks. And with the inheritance he left behind and the alimony, I signed a lease on an apartment, found a job, and am currently living comfortably on my own. Next time, I'll make sure to carefully assess my partner before getting married again. Wish me luck!